welcome our own collective, bro. Sorry to make you wait. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. I'm so sorry to trouble you.
No. Thank you. Am I audible? Is it
Yes,
clear?
yes, yes. Very much audible. Very much audible. See,
Okay.
I have got angry symbols now, like say they. So I made them. Yeah,
I'm so
I.
sorry. There's so much of technical issues. I don't know what's happening. So finally, I just logged in from my mobile. I couldn't get online from my laptop. I don't know what's wrong. So sorry for the
Okay,
delay.
so I took that privilege to give that introduction, even though many of them don't require introduction. But then many of our audience are there are from Karnataka, Maharashtra, and other places as well. People will be joining and watching this, so I prefer to keep it in English. And if anyone requests, so
Sure.
we can of course switch it into Malayalam as well. So, because this is for the purpose for the entire Indian community, because Kerala people have listened to you many times, and of course, even me, including me, we are every moment we get excited listening to you. Whether it is Bro with Bro, your own YouTube channel, one of the not a single episode we miss. So we have learned, we have heard you, but then still, there are a lot of questions which are pending, which are to be asked. So shall we directly getting into the question? So my first question, this is something which I always wanted to ask you. Might be I left it because our friendly conversations which happens, I forgot or I purposely intentionally kept it for this moment to ask. My question is three things: when, why,
Okay.
and how you become a civil service official.
Huh. I mean, why I chose the career, or is it like how did I become? I mean,
That's why I kept three things. When did you think or when did you realize that yes, I want to become a civil service official? Second, why? What is that thing which prompted you? Because I know for parents are not IAS officials or something. So, but then and then how you really work towards, because you are an legal expert as well. So you have done your legal studies. So from there, getting into IAS. That's why I kept it three phase: when, why, how.
okay, let me try to answer that. Basically, when I was a kid, um, my mother, she's a doctor, so I have told this story so many times. People who have heard the story before kindly excuse. It might be boring for them. Okay, so my mother, she was teaching in the government medical college. So I remember going with her to meet the principal, okay, of the government medical college for some official matter. I don't remember what. I'm sure my mother also wouldn't remember what it was. But we went, met the principal. Both of us were standing there, as if the principal was a demigod, and the arrogance and the attitude which the principal was putting. As a kid, I thought, what's wrong? I mean, why can't someone behave properly? Okay, we didn't get the thing sorted there. Then we went to the director of medical education. There again, a very senior doctor sitting there, and my mother, of course, a junior doctor. She is going and standing there. Of course, I am also, as a kid, tugged along. So both of us are standing there. I am observing these things, and I find that there's so much of arrogance again. You're not even, picking your head out of the files. You don't even acknowledge that a person has come. Hmm? And then we leave that place because the thing didn't get sorted out. Probably it was some promotion transfer. I don't know what the matter was. Then we go to the secretariat, government secretariat, where you have the health secretary. So we wait there to meet the secretary. It was in the evening, I remember, and after a few maybe minutes or a couple of hours, but not even hours, maybe half an hour perhaps, uh, a bearded gentleman comes in, like a gush of wind straight into the room, and then he calls us in, and we go in, and there is a absolute difference in attitude. This gentleman uh, asked my mother to sit and picks up a conversation. Doctor, what's the issue? What's the matter? Blah blah blah. All that stuff. I don't remember whether the matter got resolved or not, but the way you are treated, way a person is being treated, that really struck me. And when we got out of the room, I asked my mother, "Who is this guy? Why is he different?" And then, as a child, you actually get the feel that in the power hierarchy, this guy is way, way above than the previous gentleman whom we met. Yet he was so humble, he was so down to earth, and so naturally interacting with us like human beings. So I asked my mother who it is, and my mother told me that is the government secretary. He is a senior IAS officer and all that stuff. So it was quite cinematic. So I just turned back when we are leaving the room. I just look back and I see the name, and in the end you have this IAS written there, and suddenly, dang, you you feel inspired. My God, okay, I should be like that. Perhaps, I don't know. Perhaps that was one point of a point in time when I felt, okay, this seems to be a cool job where you have authority, you have power, you have a chance to change people's life, and at the same time, remain grounded. You also, as a citizen, when you go to power centers, you feel, okay, wish they responded positively. I really wish they did something for us. This is something which you feel when you're on the other side of the fence. So why not try to get on to the other side of the fence? Because I had nobody in the service. I had nobody in the civil service, in the IAS or IPS in my family. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm an alien. I'm an outsider to the system. So to get into the system and then try to make a change seemed to be the best possible career option that was there right before me. So probably that was one point of when I decided maybe this is it. And then how and all, yeah, it was a long journey, of course, because nobody really thought that a youngster, just by deciding that he is going to get into the civil service, you are going to make it. Because nobody in our circle, nobody in our family, nobody was into the civil services. And the luck or the chance or the rate of success in this examination, everyone knows it's quite low. So more than 10 lakh people apply for the exam. And then if you want your choice career, your choice cadre, your choice service, everything in position, then you have to come in the first 10. So to start off from 10 lakhs and come up in the first 10, it is a daunting task, no doubt, because of the competition, nothing else but the competition. So it was a tough choice, but yes, now in hindsight, you can say that, okay, you made it.
But then when should actually a person start preparing for civil service? Like,
Well, I
is
think
it because yeah.
Yeah, I think this should be treated as an exam and nothing more than that. Don't think
Okay.
of this as something which you're going to this is going to be a big show, or don't misunderstand that this is going to be epic battle or anything. No, this is nothing but an examination. So in whatever manner you would be treating an examination, you just have to treat this also, with as much respect and also as much disdain and contempt which you will have for any other exam. For that, I think you just need to take a look at the syllabus, the previous examinations. Once you have an idea about what's being asked, what is the structure of the exam, then you know where you stand. But this being an exam where people from different streams write the same exam. So it could be an engineer, it could be a doctor, it could be an accountant, it could be anybody, a lawyer, anybody could be writing this examination. And the ranking is the same. You don't have different rankings for different streams. So the race is the same, but your qualifications, your knowledge base, your understanding is different. The question paper is the same. So what do? You have to make an assessment of yourself, first of all. Where do you stand in the scheme of things? What is the gap which you have to fill in so that you reach up to that level? For that, you have to rely on previous question papers and really understand the syllabus and the examination structure. And then you'll have some fair idea how much of effort you have to put in. So it's no point trying to look at somebody else. See, he has been studying for, say, 2 years, or he has been preparing for one whole year. No, you perhaps may not require that much of an effort if you're standing in the knowledge basis on the higher side. Really don't know. You have to take a look at the syllabus and understand for yourself. This is a very individual examination in that sense, very individual, specific, very unique kind of an examination, because whatever knowledge you carry from your maybe +2 level onwards, it matters. It matters. Suppose you have studied a bit of economics, a bit of history when you're in the 11th or 12th, and you still remember that. That's important. If you remember that, then you are at a better footing. But if you haven't studied that, you have to, start afresh. So some candidates who have science background probably may not have much of an exposure of, say, Indian polity, Indian history, or economics. So they'll have to work hard on those aspects. So it depends. So somebody having economics background perhaps may not have much of an exposure with science. So there will be science-based questions as well. So how much of improvement you have to make on yourself is what decides how long and how much of an effort you will have to put.
So then how difficult was it for you? Like you were doing your legal studies and then brought civil service exam, not an economics. So how difficult was it?
Well, I think civil service exam requires a broad understanding of various subjects. And interestingly, law also requires that. So when I decided to take law as a graduation, it was a very informed decision, I'll say, because I thought if you take a 5-year LLB course, BA LLB course, you are bound to study economics, you're bound to study history, basics of sociology, all these things you have to know. In the initial couple of years, you have to study the basics of all this, because a lawyer is supposed to know everything. The basics of everything, so that he is able to take care of litigation of various hues. And the same with a civil servant, and also for the examination purpose, also you need to have a general understanding of most of this stuff. So I think taking law was a tactical decision which I had taken. So it really helped me brush up the history or economics or whatever I had studied earlier. And because I took a science group, I had missed out a bit on history or going in a bit of depth in economics. So those things were covered while we did the initial years in law. I didn't take law as an optional subject, by the way. I took public administration and psychology, which again was more of a personal choice and also a bit of tactical, strategic decisions which we take when we go through the examination. So one key thing would be to understand the examination structure properly. Then you will have to, then you will start thinking and applying your own brain on how to take tactical decisions which are in your best interest. What is in your best interest may not be useful for someone else. So my experience is my experience alone. It may not be useful for someone else. But yes, anecdotally, it might ignite your thought. It might help you think of your own solutions.
Then, because when these doctors or probably engineers get IAS, civil service, as the title, then that is actually coming in newspaper. Yes, this doctor got IAS. Looks like something which is quite strange. So is it like, say, is it that way, designed like that? A doctor, it is difficult, or probably an economics or legal studies guy, it is easy to get. That advantage people get?
Not really. Earlier, during the 90s, perhaps, there was a trend, like, only IIT guys used to get into the civil services. To the extent that you have in Mussoorie Academy, in the IAS Academy in Mussoorie, you have various hostels. So there were scores of people coming from IITs that they started kind of recolonizing the hostels in Mussoorie. Like, they had different hostel names and all that, and IIT, they started replicating the same in the academy. I mean, that was the level to which IIT guys used to, barge into the service at one point of time. There was other reasons as well. Prior to liberalization, perhaps the scope of career, the opportunities in the private sector were also perhaps on the lesser side. So career-wise, getting into the civil service was the most coveted proposition as far as IIT graduate was concerned at that point of time. But now you have more options. And also the exam structure has changed considerably. The exam structure has been consciously changed by UPSC to encourage people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, and also from small towns, from villages. Students who are not from these elite colleges, who are not from the pedigreed, only the kids of the civil servants get into the civil service. No, it doesn't happen that way. Now you have people from small towns coming in huge number. And yes, it's not just engineers. You have doctors. You have people from various backgrounds coming into the service in a big way. That variety is there now, especially now. After 2000, I would say that the color and hue of the service structure has completely changed, and I think it represents more of India now than earlier. So of course, people who study well definitely have an advantage. I won't say that it's for people who don't study or people who don't do hard work. Yeah, definitely that matters, and it's a pure correlation that people who are willing to do hard work generally get into medicine or engineering. So I mean they do pass those exams as well. Okay, and why do they do that? Because they want some sort of safety. They don't want to take a degree and straight try to come into the civil service. They want a parachute. Suppose you don't clear, what will I fall back upon? So for that they usually take these professional courses. So you can't blame them.
Yeah, still. Now, I will come back to my questions a little bit later, because we have some of those questions, waiting in the comment box. So we have this Manoj Govin, so our partner trainer. So this is one question, of course. So you are known for spontaneous action. Can you narrate one of those, Ken? Because of course you are known as man of actions for, as I was briefing in the introduction, so about Operation Sulaimani, Compassionate Calicut to Tere Mere Beach Mein. So to all those programs, you are known as man of action. So his question is the same. So you are known as for spontaneous action. Can you narrate any of those things where you took a spontaneous decision? Probably that capability will not come from an exam, clearing an exam.
Well, spontaneous action, I mean, I think generally, it comes to a personality trait, isn't it? Being instinctive, I'll say, like instinctively trying to find solutions or find. I mean, I think all my decisions are like that. But something which I really remember is when I was in Calicut, when as a collector, I remember there was a school which was embroiled in some sort of litigation. It's an aided school, so the school manager, he saw the school property as a real estate. He wanted, it was prime property, so he wanted to demolish the school, take out the kids from there, and he wanted to build something there. So that was his idea. But this was the aided school, so the government had a say in it. They wanted to maintain that school, and it was emotional issue with the students, the kids, the families. It was something else. So as a district collector, it was a tricky situation. And one fine day, you had this guy trying to demolish the school, and legally he won. The courts gave a verdict in his favor. So suddenly these kids had to be taken out. But the kids were sitting there, the parents were sitting there, the local MLA came there and sat in strike and all that. So you didn't have a solution. So then, being a lawyer, what I did was I just checked up the rule position. So I found that there is a provision for the district collector to take over a school from the manager. Okay. So then I ring up the minister and tell that, okay, sir, this route is available to us. The only point is that I need a directive from the government saying that go ahead with that. So he said, okay, he'll get it done. So that will be done. So having been assured that there will be a decision to take over the school, and you pay a compensation, that's not a big issue. So having made that position clear, then I thought, okay, now ultimately I'll get that school. It's only a matter of procedure. I'll have to issue an order, take it over, and that you have to conduct a hearing and all that stuff. Till then, what to do? With the school getting closed and the kids going home, and they'll have to be sent to various other schools till this issue is resolved. That is not going to work out. It will send a very bad message to the public. It will send a very bad message to the kids and their families also. So you have to resolve this. Now, all this is happening in 10-15 minutes. Okay, the whole thing is happening. This your thought process, everything is going on in 10-15 minutes. And then I thought, okay, there's one thing which we can very easily do, which is shift the school to the collectorate. I have a hall there. So I'll just set up a school there till maybe 1 month, maybe at the max, and by then we'll shift. So let it be fun time for the kids. So this was decided, and then I called up the MLA and told, this is what I think I'll do. So he told, then why don't you come here and just tell them, so that, and you can announce it and take, because from on part of the government somebody should say that. I told, okay, fine, I'll come over. So I just immediately told them to arrange a bus as well, and we go there, take the kids in the bus, bring back to the collectorate, and we have the first class there.
Wow.
First class for the kids in the classroom in the collectorate, and I was taking the first class, by the way. So the simple class which I took was that you have to value education, you have to value land, and you have to value water. And money is not everything. Okay, don't see money in property, don't see money in school, don't see money in education. There's something more to it. So this was the simple class, which the opening session which I took for them. And what I say is, this was purely instinctive and spontaneous. The whole thing was decided and executed in half an hour. And I think these are memorable moments. When you decide on the go and things get done, there is a lot of excitement and fun in it. Of course, there will be lots of issues associated with that later on, but then this is fun. This is just one of the interesting incidents which I recollect.
That is amazing, sir, because probably that will be the first collectorate in India mostly to convert as a school and run a classroom over there.
Yeah, actually, this the commercialization of school education, this became a big topic later on, and lots of articles were written about this and all that. So I was surprised to see a picture of me, taking the kids into, from that school to the our small classroom in the collectorate. That became the cover photo for most of these articles, which was also nothing planned. But there is a symbolism associated with that, which, of course, I didn't think of it at that point of time, but then I understood there is a symbolism associated. So after the first initial class in the conference hall of the collectorate, I told you we had a hall. That hall was converted overnight into classrooms. We had the PWD working overnight, and we had the partitions done, all with temporary structure, and that school functioned for almost 2 months there. The teachers were taking classes there, and it was really fun.
So we have another question here. So probably a little bit, I don't know whether this can be answered directly or how it should be.
Yeah.
In India, we always see politicians who have no formal education will exercise the control on people like you who have the best education. How can the younger generation mitigate this scenario? So by Dr.
Well,
Murli,
I don't think. Yes. Well, Mr. Reddy, I don't think we should be mitigating this. I mean, education doesn't make a person per se good or bad, or lack of education also doesn't make a person good or bad. If someone is good and he appeals to the public, and if the public trusts him, he's voted, he wins, and he represents them. If the public doesn't value education, or if the public doesn't see value in an educated person who is standing for elections, then what can you blame? I mean, there's no point in arguing against democracy. Well, the political executive has to be elected always. It shouldn't be guided or, shall I say, moderated kind of democracy. Democracy should be democracy proper, and we should be willing to take whatever comes. I mean, if democracy brings a moron or a disaster as the leader, you take it because you only voted. Or if the democracy becomes mature enough, it will start electing people who are more sensible. But let's not mix education with that, because what I feel is one of the greatest leaders in Tamil Nadu was Kamraj. He was the chief minister for a long time. He started one of the most interesting schemes, like midday meal scheme for the kids, which was replicated all over India. When he started that, everyone used to make fun of him because he was uneducated. What does he know? But the wisdom, the deep wisdom which he had, none of the educated people at that point of time really had. So later on, you had the planning commission and everyone saying, "Oh, see, midday meal scheme is a great idea. It will improve attendance. It will improve health. It will improve literacy rates and all that stuff." Later on, much later on. But this person had that innate, wisdom inside him to take such a wise and bold decision at that point of time. So it may not always be education. Highly educated people are also there who aren't decision makers, who are corrupt, who don't have any compassion for fellow beings, and who don't mind destroying and finishing off the wealth of the country. Even working against the interest of the country. I mean, these things do happen. So I don't think we should see it only through the perspective of education and not being educated. I think that would be very unfair, especially in democracy. Let's face it that let's face the fact that education, democracy is not the best, but still that's the only best thing which we have. I mean, we have to live with it.
Okay, so I have another question about career, because coming back again to career, we have a lot of other questions as well to answer. So I will go back to the comment and the questions which is thrown by our audience. But then before that, I just want to ask you this question. How should somebody create a career? I just use the word create a career because we had a discussion about this sometimes back, whether somebody should do multiple jobs, identify his passion, and then create a career, or somebody should plan in advance that, yes, I want to create this as my career and work towards it. So what is the best possible way?
Well, I think we have to have a free mind. We should not be close-minded. That's what I'll say. Career always doesn't come planned. Sometimes, sometimes it's a serendipity kind of thing. You discover something and suddenly you know that, oh, this is my career. This is my choice. Sometimes throughout your life, you are stuck with something which you may not really like. Yet that is your career. Everyone is not really fortunate. If you're lucky enough to have a choice, everyone doesn't have choice. If you're lucky enough to have choice, try to identify your taste, your aptitude, and then check out if you really find joy in that. Often, while trying to identify your career options, you tend to make decisions based on externalities, things that are really outside the career perspective. Like it could be like you deciding to be a doctor because you like the white coat. A white coat worn by a doctor, that might be what is attracting, or wishing to be a civil servant because you like the red light on top of the car. Those are not things based on which you make a career choice. That's what I'll say. Try to understand the content, the job content, the real job aspect, because you are going to live with that. And if you have a innate taste towards something, try to identify that and then move towards it. Not it's not necessary that you always get what you want, but at least you might be in the periphery, in those areas, and there could be very similar professions to that. It's a fairly complex mix of fate, and it's a game theory ultimately, because in life your choice is sometimes mediated by somebody else's choice as well.
True. So now I just would like to take one more question from here, and again coming back to my question. So this is Swati is asking, hi sir, hope you're doing good. Can you share the toughest challenge that you have faced in life, probably in your professional life? How did you overcome them?
Toughest challenge, I think it's yet to come in profession. I when I look back, I'm not really able to recollect any tough decision or tough challenge of that kind, because I think I enjoy my job. So whatever comes, I really take it. I've never been I've been never driven to that level that I feel, oh my god, this is a challenge. Honestly, I have not been driven to that level. Just a second, I just lost connection. Yeah, I'm audible now.
Yes, very much.
Hello.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, I think I have some. Okay, it's okay. Okay, if you're hearing, I'll go ahead. Okay, what I'm saying is, if you think of it, there have been incidents where you had to take tough decisions, perhaps, because I don't like to lose my temper. I don't like to shout at people. I don't like to hurt people. These are things which I don't really like. So I think occasions when I have had to uh, take the lathi, you have to kind of be strict. Those are incidents which I really feel like, okay, I mean, I don't like to do this, but I have no choice. Those are the challenges which I'll say, because when you're running an organization, when you're heading an institution, you have to occasionally take such positions, suspending people, dismissing. These are things which I don't like, hurting people, but I have done it. Um, so I say those are the challenges, I'll say. Yeah.
But I would like to go one step ahead, because what I have read was, if you want to learn really from a successful person, ask them about their failure. So rather than challenge, I really want to ask you this question. I reserved this for this last, but then now, as this question of challenge came, I want to throw this now. When did you fail? Anytime have you felt that, yeah, I failed, and you went into that mode, and then you tried, yes, I have to come out of it now? Something like that happened, if you can share with us.
Well, again, just as I had mentioned about this challenge thing, when I look back, I don't find any incident. I'm not being arrogant. What I'm saying is, when I look back, I see each incident as an experience than any failure or anything. When I say experience, let me put it this way. Uh, have you failed? No, I'll say I have never failed. But were there incidents where you did not achieve what you wanted to? Yes. I'll give a good example. When I was in Calicut as district collector, we had this compassionate code project, which was basically community
Driven
participatory
initiative.
project. Yeah. So you had more than 100 initiatives which we tried out, and beforehand itself, I knew that you are going to try a whole lot of things. Okay, if you try 100, maybe 50 might succeed, maybe 60, maybe 10, you really don't know. But if you don't try, nothing is going to happen, so you better try. So when you start off with trying, obviously there will be failures, matlab, things which did not come up to the mark or expectation which you actually had. Those are there, but I won't say that those are failures when it comes to personally, or have you failed. When you ask have you failed, I'll say I haven't failed, because those are just experiences for me. One classic example would be, see, Operation Suleimani, everyone knows it's a success. Everyone is happy with it. Even now, it's continuing, and I keep getting messages sometimes from Calicut, somebody who goes to a restaurant and suddenly finds the Suleimani box there. So they get thrilled and send me a photo. I say, okay, great. Silently, it's still functioning, and till date, not a single beneficiary of Operation Suleiman, not a single beneficiary's photograph is seen anywhere. His dignity is not compromised, and I say that is the biggest success of the project. Now, on the other side, there was another project which we started for the kids who were traveling by bus. Uh, it was called Savari Girigiri. Now, it had two aspects. One was to ensure the safety and respect for the kids, because they were being treated shabbily in the private buses. So that aspect to be taken care. That was more of a regulatory aspect. Second thing was to sort out the issue. The issue was that these bus owners were asked to take these kids at a lower rate, just 50 paise. So when a kid gets into the bus, from his perspective, he's losing revenue. The space in the bus is being occupied by someone who is paying just 50 paise. Potentially, someone who is going to pay 6 or 7 rupees should be there. And when more kids get into the bus, what happens? The adults don't get into the bus. So you are actually squeezing out the revenue from the bus. So what do they do? They don't take the kids in the bus, so that these kids are forced to go in the next bus, and the next bus, and the next bus. So you are, what are you trying to do? You are actually trying to divide the potential or the perceived loss amongst different buses. So it's a fight between the bus owners, actually. The kids are not their enemies. What they're actually doing is they are trying to divide the potential loss, their perceived loss, amongst other buses. Now, there is a theoretical question to it. Aren't they being compensated? Yes, actually, they are being compensated by allowing a charge of 6 or 7 rupees for adults. It includes this loss as well. That's why we agree for a higher rate. So there is a cross subsidy within that. But unfortunately, what happens is the route on which you have schools, it's not uniform. So you might have kids getting into a particular bus always, or a particular route always. Whereas the cross subsidy, which is given, the slightly higher rate provided for the adult, that benefit doesn't come to everyone. That goes to some other route where there is no school in the route at all. The kids don't get into that bus. So what is the problem? You have to, logically sort out this problem. Logically sorting this problem was very simple. This perceived, notional loss by taking the kids, this has to be divided equally amongst all the bus owners. If that is possible, then you don't fight amongst yourselves. You will not push a kid outside, because even if this kid comes in or an adult comes in, the perceived loss is going to be shared. Also means that the perceived profit will also be shared. Now, how do you make this possible? You could very easily make it possible using technology. Now, you just needed to have a smart card issued for every child and a card reader. So in collaboration with IIM Kozhikode, we came out with this solution, and we distributed these cards with the help of Federal Bank. They sponsored the cards as well. So things were going very fine. So what happened was, once you distribute all the cards to the kids, this aspect is completely taken care of. There's no issue. There's no margin for error. There's no fight. Nothing. It was too good to be true. And it was actually too good to be true, because what happened was this bus owners actually did not have complete control over the staff. The conductor, the cleaner, and the driver, they had very strong unions. Now, what used to happen was the collection in the bus, the money that is collected in a bus daily, that really, it doesn't entirely get deposited with the owner. This was something which I never knew. Now, that this small fight between the workers and the owner. The owners were not really in command of the buses. This was a new knowledge for me as well. So when you try to put this technology inside there, when you distributed the cards, when you distributed cards for general travel as well, what was being hurt is the interest of these people. Okay, so they never wanted this technology to be adopted fully. And that caused a serious problem. We couldn't really roll out it completely. So this is a failure. When you look at it from the project perspective, I would see it as but definitely at some point of time in future, this will definitely come through. Definitely, the smart cards, and later on, much later in Kochi, you have this now. Cochin Metro is issuing this travel card, which can be smart card, which can be used across buses and even auto rickshaws. That's coming in. That's been in vogue in Singapore and in other places. So I had taken the idea from Singapore, and in consultation with IIM, of course, they helped me design the project as well. But what I say is, that project failed, but I did not fail because I learned this great lesson that within this bus business there is something like this, and you need to know more. You understand more and more about society, about the way people perceive and think. This is a learning process. So that's the way I'll explain this failure aspect.
Thank you so much. That is an amazing way to put the failures. Now we have a question. I'll just summarize this question by Mr. Valsraj. So he's asking about many of those people, students are putting to, getting A+. So in the first line, what is your opinion on equal education and equal chances for all, rather than creating a forced group of A+ students? It's majorly he want to ask the grading system. So how you feel that grading system creates only the winners? So people may feel like these are the only people. And I know that you have done a series, like a big episode only on this A+ thing, which became so viral, came into all media. Still, yes, the same question.
Yeah. Well, see, the problem with all of us is that we believe in academic merit. Academic merit as the ultimate goal, or the great thing which we are all trying to go after. Earlier, you had this ranking system. Now, this ranking system was done away, and now you have this grading system. And it seems this is not leaving us. This problem, the ghost, is not still leaving us. It's still haunting us. Mm. Like even if we do away with the grading system, something else will come. You keep on trying to grade people, to categorize a hierarchy, and try to judge kids, I'll say. Whereas it's so immature on the part of the society to try and do this. You have once the exams are done, you find there's events being conducted to congratulate and felicitate kids who have got A plus and all. It's so stupid. See, first of all, kids who have got A plus, they are already on cloud 9. You don't need to encourage them any further. Okay, actually they should come down. They should be on ground zero. Uh, People who, the kids who have not got A plus, they should be the ones who should be talked to. You should be spending time with them, trying to understand them, and also what are the reasons why they didn't make it to A plus. It's not a crime if they didn't make to A plus. That means they have other talents. They have other areas of interest. Not necessarily purely academic. They might have other areas where we should be guiding them, and perhaps sometimes they might be having academic interest, but it was just one-off. An exam doesn't decide your academic potential at all. Kids who have got really low marks and the 10th standard have gone to become really academically brilliant guys as well. I mean, so you can't really judge anyone by one exam or anything. So now it's a society's issue. It's a larger issue where we try to see. I'll put across this simple thing. See, your academic career and your credentials sometimes is used so much to judge you. When I go for some event or some program, I find this very interesting. They dig out my academic past, and when I'm introduced, they read out my. I don't know how I was introduced here because I came in late. So usually, your smile says that okay, something of that kind has been done. I don't know.
No,
But
I didn't say much.
okay, good. So when you're introduced, I always find that that it's always mentioned that I was first ranker in this college, blah blah blah, university, and all that stuff, and then they say I was all India fourth rank for IAS, and then suddenly the audience starts clapping also. So then I find it very funny because this was something which happened around 13 years back in 2006 exam, and today it's being told again that you are holding fourth rank, and suddenly you find people clapping as if that is the biggest achievement that I mean, it's so demeaning as well. Because see, the rank or grading by an examination doesn't decide what kind of an officer, what kind of a student, what kind of a, it doesn't decide anything. It is just one of the, see, because you need some examination to uh, you know categorize people for the sake of it. Let me put it this way: India is a country with a lot of people. The population is so huge, so at times you have to take tests. You have to apply some measures for elimination. Even for UPSC examination, I keep telling the same thing. It is not a selection examination at all. People say that I have been selected by the UPSC. What I will say is UPSC has eliminated a lot of people. That's why you got in. So even the preliminary exam which is conducted, it is more of an elimination exam, because you have got so many people applying that you need to find a way to grade them. You have to see, for example, is the person who clears the medical entrance exam with the first rank, would he be the best doctor? This is a question you have to really think. You have to apply your brain to understand this question. Um, a good doctor has to be I'm talking of a surgeon, okay, a good heart surgeon. A good heart surgeon is someone who has a greater, hand-eye coordination, presence of mind, understanding of the, body, at that point of time during surgery. I am saying this from whatever I've been told from my doctor friends and doctors in my family. My mother is a doctor, my uncle, all of them are doctor surgeons actually. So they keep telling that people who know to sew, who sew really well, who know how to cut and make small artifacts, they actually turn out to be really good surgeons. Now, can we conduct a test for that? No, you can't. So what do? You need to have some criteria, some method. It can't, you have to accept the fact that all those aspects which you test in a medical entrance really doesn't correlate with the qualities which an excellent surgeon has to have. It will have lots of aspects related to, of course, memorizing, the capacity to remember, the IQ aspects, those things will be there. A lot of things would be covered, but that is not what really makes a good surgeon. It could also be the similar qualities could also make a good engineer. It could also make a good lawyer, could make a good playwright, a good actor, because an actor has to remember lots of dialogues. Okay, he has to deliver the dialogues on the stage. So he has great memorizing capacity. Now, can we correlate all this and say that it's the same? No. You have to eliminate people. You have to select people. You have to find some criteria because the demand is so huge. So we start confusing these examination results, ranks, and grades with the quality of people themselves, which is wrong. I don't know when we'll get out of this mindset.
So we have one direct question to you. So will be very interesting. Probably I can ask him to send his CV. So good evening, bro. I'm marine engineer. How can I get into shipping inland Kerala?
You will have to write the
How can
PSC
you-
examination as and when a vacancy arises. But we actually don't have marine engineers working in KSINC, to be honest.
Okay. So there is one question from Satyabir Singh. So this question, yes, it's a regularly asked question. How often do you face political interference in your work? Because we are seeing this in movies and we don't know whether it is really happening in the life.
Well, watching all these movies, we assume that the IAS, IPS officers usually pick up fight with politicians, and we give very fiery dialogues, and after slapping the politicians, we walk back in slow motion and all that. No, but actually, in truth, these are far from reality. But political interference in work, it's a question which needs to be redefined. Our work is actually political in that sense. Political in the sense, um, this is a democracy. So you'll have a political executive above you, and an elected minister would be there. So he has the right to issue legal orders to you and legal directions. Those are things, those are mandates which you have to respect. But at the same time, there could be occasions when a local MLA or a MP who really doesn't have any executive power over you, who tries to interfere and guide you or misguide you. Often it is guiding, often it is positive, because the local representative sometimes knows the pulse of the people much better than we do. Their life is different. We have to appreciate that. From day one, from morning onwards, in the early morning itself, they are interacting with the public. They have so many phone calls. Public is stuck on them. They don't have even privacy. At least this is what happens in Kerala. Must be the same in most part of India. Popular politician means he has to cater to the will of the public. The public really demands, and they have to deliver. So what happens is, they pass on the demands to the officials who are executing certain stuff, who are in positions of authority. Sometimes these are not legally possible. Sometimes these are wrong. Sometimes they have other agendas hidden. So it does happen. But I think, as an officer, if your reputation is that you are not going to listen to this kind of nonsense, they generally don't come, with such demands. And the question was how I deal with it. Well, when such questions, such demands have come, I've made it clear to them, and I think reputation really helps. If you have made it very clear earlier on in your career, not many people dare to come and cross the boundary with you. And if at all someone tries to cross the boundary, knowing that you do not tolerate such things, and still they try to put pressure and act very smart, then what I do is I really make it a point that he gets it back in such a way that it's like a poster, aage se ainda kabhi nahi karna type. Nobody, next person should not dare to do that. So it helps a lot. It's like a mosquito repellent kind of thing. Later on, they don't do it.
So now coming back to career again. So just few more questions. I will leave you immediately. I know you are really tired after the long day. I'm so sorry to make you again talk after this long
It's
day.
okay.
So I just want to ask this question again. Prasanth Nair, IAS, civil service official. Prasanth Nair, IAS, director of Devakanam, which is featured in Cannes in 2018. Probably the only IAS official with that title of being a director for a movie which is being screened in Cannes Film Festival. Prasanth Nair, IAS, a writer. Prasanth Nair is a photographer, a very good photographer, a very good storyteller. So how do you define actually your career as such? Like whether you want to be an actor, Dr. Samuel, I forgot to say that. So an actor, a director, that means a movie person, an IAS officer, a very difficult, very rare combination. This is. So how you find this actually?
And I think we should not be defined by our career. As a human being, as an individual, you should have an identity that is not the same as that of your job.
That
That's something which
stereotypic feel of.
Yes, I strongly believe in that. Sometimes they say, "Oh, this is not like an IAS officer. You are not expected to do that." I mean, I really don't care. Uh, that is really old school. An IAS officer earlier would not be expected to interact with public. He is not expected to be seen in public places, like in a small shop, or you are expected to be somewhere in a high elite world where normal people are not there. I think that needs to be redefined as per your personality. We are not in a colonial world any longer. And there is a tendency for us to kind of define people by the job they do. You expect a police officer to behave in such a way. So rarely, if a police officer sings, it is news, because a police officer is not expected to sing. Similarly, if an IAS officer is making a movie, it becomes news. Well, if a doctor is doing something else, because I mean, why should it be? A doctor can be a doctor, and at the same time, he can have other interests, and it need not be hobby. We try to belittle our interests and our passions using the word hobby. I think hobby is not the right word to use. It is a passion. It's something which you can pursue with equal, if not more, interest or passion. So I don't try to define myself as anybody, and I don't think I have reached anywhere in any of these fields which could define me categorically. So it's just a journey where we are still traveling and searching and trying to find. Maybe it's something else. If none of these. If there is an option, none of the above. It could be none of the above as well. Maybe something else will turn out, and we really don't know. And I think that search should keep us going. Somebody whom I really found very interesting, which I keep mentioning every time, is an Australian friend of mine. I think we have spoken about that before. This Australian friend, I met him in Trivandrum. So, he told his story. He started off his so-called career as a postman. As a postman, he worked for a few years, and then what did he do? Then he did a course in plumbing. Okay, some sort of polytechnic kind of course, and he became a plumber in Australia. So this guy became a plumber. It's a profession in high demand in Australia. He was a plumber for a few years. Then he did a bridge course and then became an engineer. He was in a major construction company for quite some time as an engineer, as a project manager. Then he did law. He did graduation in law. He became an attorney. Then he became state attorney for one of the major states there. I think it was Queensland. And then He went on to become a county head or something like a mayor or a Jilla Panchayat president, something sort of in Queensland. And he kept on changing. And when I met him at that point of time, he was teaching public administration in University of Queensland. But he would define himself as a musician who used to play piano every weekend. Now that is personality. I mean, he went around trying he got the best out of him. He tried whatever he wanted to try. If you have the luxury of doing that, why not do that? Of course, I do accept the fact that it's not possible for everyone. You're not lucky enough to do that. There could be pressures, there could be family pressures, there could be financial issues, there could be circumstances that don't allow you. But if you are able to do that, if you have the freedom to expand and bloom out and bring your entire personality out, why not? I think we should have that mindset. It should not be one career that is going to decide you. So in that sense, I really don't know where I have reached yet. I mean, I'm just living my life. So I don't want any career to define my life yet.
Okay, that's nice way to put. And I think you want to advise the people that don't limit yourself with one title. So, passion, you follow your passion. And then another one, which I want to ask, probably last two questions, I will wind up soon. So the thing is like this post-COVID-19, this is something like a buzzword now. It has become post-COVID-19. We don't know whether there's something called post-COVID-19 or whether we are going to coexist with, COVID-19.
Absolutely, I think so.
So, but then always hear this word post COVID-19. So, how this career scenario going to be in your analysis? Like, because everything is getting shifted to online. Even now, we were planning this in real, physical setup. We planned this sort of a program. Now we are also sitting in a two distant places, doing this through online interaction. So, how you feel this shift? Whether it is going to be a fad, temporary, or this is going to be the life forward?
I think we will find a moderate equilibrium ultimately. So it won't be as bad as it is now, and it's not going to be absolutely as good as it used to be at some point of time. So maybe we'll come to an equilibrium. And then career-wise, I think always whoever is agile, whoever is willing to change, and whoever is willing to adapt will survive. There were lots of changes that were happening that were just waiting to happen in the economy, in business, in everything. Like I always used to say that you should have work from home made as much possible. In government especially, that I strongly still believe that. And also localized work scenarios where you could have workstations very similar to WeWork and all that stuff. So you don't need to keep transferring. You don't need so many offices. This is something which is a pet theme of mine. And there's no need of so much of transportation. This is all unnecessary expenditure and wasteful expenditure, which you could focus on better things. Now, absolutely. Why this was not happening? This was not happening because of various reasons. The status quo is never want to change and all that stuff. Now you look around, you find everything is happening now. Now think earlier when I started off doing a couple of meetings on WhatsApp, I had so much of doubt and questions being raised to me by my staff. I found WhatsApp meetings to be very effective because everyone used to put in his or her opinion there. I just needed to take a printout and it became the minutes of the meeting. It was very effective. And since I hold a couple of charges, one in Trivandrum, one in Kochi, it was very easy for me to extract decisions, even if the officials were not able to find time to come and sit in one office at one point of time. The meeting can go on for the whole day. I'll put the opinion in the morning, the other guy can put an opinion in the evening. Still, we have the decision. The final decision can be taken by night. So you just need to minute it. Now, these are things which are now happening everywhere. People who used to raise queries and doubts and legalities and all that stuff, now they don't find any problem with that because necessity is the mother of invention. And invention had already happened and we were not willing to make use of it. Now, suddenly you are forced to make use of the inventions that were already there right in front of you. So I think these changes will have to be adopted, are being adopted. Now, the business also. Now, you'll find that the way business functions, the way the business is run, is changing drastically and very fast. Things are getting automated. The technology is being used now. All sort of ease of operation things are being injected. Technology is being injected at such a fast pace. This is not being done by the chief technical officer of any of these companies. It is being done by COVID. Nobody else is pushing these ideas. Necessity is pushing this. So what will happen is these drastic changes are going to change the way business functions. This business process re-engineering, as they say, that is going to happen in a big way. So the job opportunities and the career opportunities will also be, of course, taking a shift. It could be the opportunities, and also the certain businesses itself might go up. Some may go down. It's going to change. Definitely, it's going to change. How well we are prepared for the change is the question. How well we are equipped. So I think more than learning a lot of skills, the ability to change, that itself will be the biggest skill. Ability to change would be the biggest skill which we have to learn.
Okay. So now one last question from our viewers. So Umar Khan is asking these questions. I'm a science background student. So this is one question I really want to take it to the last. So I'm a science background student. I'm interested in CA. So should I continue in CA path, whether it is difficult? Because I'm just underlining these words. One, I am science background student and I want to study CA, whether it is difficult and hazardous task. So these are something which I really want, because this is some question which is already there in people's mind. And Umar has one more question, whether he should pursue biomedical science as well. What is the opportunity? Because this is a typical, I can see an example of a 12th standard student. So I appreciate Umar's frankness to ask this question. Really, please ask this sort of questions every time to everyone. This can give you answer. So how do you want to answer this?
Okay, good. I think, see, the first point is I'm of science background. I'm a bit interested in CA. Okay, can I continue my higher studies on CA path? Also,
I want to answer
CA
that one
difficult.
part,
yeah, please.
Yeah. So I want to answer one part, that is because you have to have +2 commerce to continue with your chartered accountancy. You have to study accountancy. You should be good in statistics and mathematics, and then you can directly get into the chartered accountancy path. If you're really good in this sort of things, accounting, computer science, and little bit of statistics and good numerical skills, if you have, then of course, yes, you can get into, but then you should be having a commerce background in your 12th standard, 11th and 12th standard. So of course, and you want to answer the remaining, yes.
Yeah. Now, what I would say is, may I know if passing CA is difficult and hazardous task? Now, when we decide a career option, when we try to chart out the path which you're going to take, I think risk is always an aspect which you have to figure in. I do agree, but that should not be something that's going to decide your career choice. See, if that were the case, nobody would be writing the civil service examination, because the success rate is quite low. There has to be a balance between the risk, and the realistic understanding of your capabilities. Without taking risk, you're not going to get anything. The level of risk which you're going to take will ultimately decide the level to which you will be reaching. The other day, I had a friend's relative, actually. She had done law. Now, after finishing law, she just called me up with a reference to ask if she could go and do MSW. And I told, okay, you have done law, then suddenly why do you want to do MSW? Why did you do law in the first place? She said, well, she had done some other graduation initially. I forgot what exactly. It was, I think, BCom or something. And then she decided to do law because BCom, she thought it was difficult. Then she thought doing law might be easier for her to get a good career. Then after doing law, she understood that law career is quite tough. It takes a bit of time to get settled as a lawyer, and getting into legal teaching or the judicial stream is again tough. So maybe I could go into MSW. So I asked, what if you find MSW difficult? But then she was like at a loss. Then I told, okay, one thing I would really suggest, where you want to be 100% sure that you will get a placement. if that is what you want. And she said, yes, I thought the first option was not good. Then I did law. Then law also I found it very risky. Then I think I'll do for MSW. Then I told, then the best option which you should look for is coconut climbing, because in Kerala you have an acute shortage of people who are there willing to climb coconut trees. She was shocked for some time, and I said, if you're looking at the probability of finding a job and income without a risk, this is the way. Don't have any doubt about it. You have to choose coconut climbing. Then she said, I am a lady, so I mean that will be even more interesting. I mean, people will say it is empowerment. Don't worry about that. My simple question to her was like, how long will you run away? I mean, how long and how far will you run away from risk? You have to take a decision. You see, after doing years of study in a particular stream, suddenly you say that this is too risky. I'll do something else. You can't go on studying and in anticipation of a risk-free career offer. You don't need to think of the dignity of labor. You don't need to get too frantic about all those things. Any job is good, provided you like that job. If you like the job, go for it. If you have interest in that, go for it. Because you can be the best in whatever field you choose if you really like that. Don't go by what others tell you. Now, why do you want to think of CA? Why do you want to think of, why did you take the science background first of all? I mean, these are things you have to ask yourself as well. When you took the science stream, there must have been a logic behind it. Did you like a particular profession? Did you think that I wanted to take this path and then go there? And are you now scared of going that path because of some other reason? Or was that a mistake? You should have clarity in thought, because these are not things which you decide by general consensus of the people around or anybody like me who is just giving you offhand advice. You have to have conviction of yourself. You should know why you are taking your decision. For that, you should think. You should ask yourself why each decision which you took, why, and why you are going to take a different path. Again, you should have justification and clarity for that. Well, CA is a tough exam, that you have to understand. It is a tough exam. It's not an impossible task either, because I know people who have cleared it brilliantly, who have put in a lot of hard work and cleared after various attempts also, Inter and all that. Even if you clear quite a few papers of CA, you are really respected. You do have that career opportunity. It's very much there. So it's not a bad choice at all, provided you love that profession. You will be in accounting. You will be in the midst of numbers. You will be always taking care of account books and all that stuff. Will you like that? That is the question. There are people who really love numbers. Are you one of those kinds? If you are not, you will be in a soup. You will regret it all your life if you don't like numbers. So you have to think why. Only then you will be able to, when people ask me why I took civil service, I mean, there is another aspect also which I keep saying. I get bored with stuff. Okay, if I ever were a software engineer, I would be bored to death. I'll probably commit harakiri in day one. I mean, I can't keep doing the same stuff all day or the whole life. There are people of different nature, so you have to understand your nature first of all while you approach your career. People who get bored with similar tasks need to have different tasks in their career. The best thing about being in the IAS is that you work in different departments, work in different sectors, and every day is kind of a different challenge. You learn a lot of things. This keeps you engaged. Your mind is also kind of always agile. You like to be in the midst of decision making. Okay, this is something that keeps you quite distinct and unique. Whereas a routine kind of job, someone who likes a routine kind of job will find it very easy to work in maybe a routine nature job, like maybe accounting is one aspect, or maybe programming, coding is one aspect, or the traditional factories where you used to do the same similar piecework. The same task is repeatedly done. That's possible. I mean, people who are okay with it are okay with it. People who are not okay with it are not okay with it. It's nothing good or bad. And there is so much people who like outdoor jobs. like again, I'll speak of coconut climbing again. It's a very interesting profession, if I may put it so, because see, there are automated machines and all that available now. NIT Calicut had come up with a very interesting machine for that. The safety aspects are all taken care. This is not a joke. This is a very interesting profession if you look at it that way. Why not? If you actually enjoy that, if you find fun in that, if you think that there is a commercial aspect to it, and you find that you won't regret that aspect. I mean, if there's a commercial aspect and you would like to explore it, why not? I mean, you don't need to be judgmental about anything. You just need to think whether it suits you and whether you are going to, like the job, love the job, whether you're going to regret it later on. That's the only thing you need to think of. Don't think of, the success rate or the hazard or the risk aspect of it so much so that you don't, or you are not in a position to take even the first step. Um, Ask the question why. I think if you ask the question why to yourself, you yourself try to, you'll yourself be able to get a really clear, convincing answer for yourself. I don't know whether I've made it clear for you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir, for that reply. And Umar Khan, I would like to add on this, because the purpose of this Career Coffee and this platform is to support the students like you. So you please go to that website, which is mentioned on top of the screen, myskillaudit.com. With Prashant's advice, we have made it free across the globe now, because we have held almost 1.5 lakh students. So it is like not at all chargeable. So you can just go there, take the assessment, and please send a message like in our messenger, because as you have a question which is also asked about science stream, and then whether you want to get into biomedical science, biomedical engineering, as well you have the question. So I would like to help you with that. Please shoot me a message in messenger, and then we will be in touch, and I will be able to help you to identify which career suits you best and how you can plan for it. So I would like to offer this to you. So please connect with me after doing the assessment. So we have been listening
Actually,
to Prashant Nair IAS,
actually, actually, I'll just say that making use of this my skill audit is a very, very simple and easy starting point if you are confused. Because I feel when you think of CA at one end, and bio informatics and biotechnology and all that stuff on the other side, biomedical on the other end, and also options like whether it's hazardous, these are things which I think you makes you confused. So maybe the starting point would be this website, which will give you some clarity about your inner aptitude. Then we'll have a starting point. Then probably if you apply your mind and ask this why, you will get clear answers.
Yeah, so I'm just offering. So you can connect with me in Messenger. So in Career Coffee, you can just message me. So I will give you my number, so you can reach me, so we can have a discussion to plan it from there. So don't worry for that. So thank you so much. So you've been listening to Prasanth Nair IAS, our own lovely collective bro, for this past 1 hour 15 minutes. And after his long day, I know it was so tiring with multiple meetings, and I troubled him so much to be on live so that we get a lot of information. And thank you so much for joining with us for this live and sharing this much information. As you rightly said, don't limit yourself. So that is one point which I always wanted. And then that is something which you really taught us from your life, the way you take decisions, the way you molded your entire career, entire life. It is like, don't limit yourself, and don't go with that conventional path of the way they have designed and structured things, the stereotypical way. So follow your passion. This is something which we learned from this interaction. I typically avoided all those same questions which you have answered in all the interviews. I try to avoid almost all those things about Operation Suleiman to everything, even though I gave a brief in the introduction in the beginning about the videos, even the latest video, Daham. So I translate as the thirst in English. So the video which you have recently launched during this COVID-19 time. So that is something which is right. We make people energized and feel like that, okay, there can be an IAS officer like this as well. And this is something which I want to be. This is an inspiration for all of us. And thank you so much, bro, for inspiring millions of youth. I have to say, there are people who really follow us and really lead the way and really show us the path. So thank you so much for that as well. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation and being here. I'm sure you'll be there on call, and again we'll be ready to come over here. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for seriously not repeating the usual questions, because most of the interviews are really boring for me. I mean, people really don't think of that, how boring it must be for me, taking the same questions. But thank you for bringing out these fresh questions and making the interaction quite meaningful. I really appreciate that, and I am sure that those who saw the show, I think at least somebody would have benefited in some way. I'm more than happy to join you in any time in future. Let's try to bring some positivity and some positive change for the public, for the youngsters. I'm always happy to be with you.
So if you are not following our bro, please go to YouTube, search for Brew with Bro, Prasanth Nair IAS, Collector Bro, Brew with Bro. You will get all the videos. Please watch this and then follow sir, so that this is something which we can always get. So thank you so much for viewing us. Thank you so much for your questions, and definitely we'll be with other experts as well soon. So once again, thank you so much and apologies for troubling you. Thank you so much. Love you so much.